The screech of tires against wet asphalt echoed through the night as Grant Davidson's Lamborghini careened off the highway. Metal twisted, glass shattered. Steam hissed from the wreckage like a dying breath. But this wasn't just an accident. Someone had wanted the youngest billionaire in America dead. 6 months later, Mercy General Hospital buzzed with its usual chaos, but room 4047 remained eerily silent. Inside lay Grant Davidson, the tech mogul who'd built an empire before turning 30, now trapped in a coma that doctors said he'd never wake from. That's when Anna Martinez got the assignment that would change her life forever. His vitals are stable, but his brain activity is minimal, Dr. Williams explained, sliding Grant's file across his desk. The family has specific requirements for his care. Anna frowned, studying the medical charts. What kind of requirements? 24-hour monitoring, private security, and absolute discretion. Dr. Williams leaned forward. There are people who would prefer if Grant Davidson never woke up. A chill ran down Anna's spine. What do you mean? Let's just say his accident is still under investigation. The police haven't ruled out foul play. Anna's hands trembled as she absorbed this information. She'd heard of Grant Davidson, everyone had. The ruthless CEO who'd revolutionized social media, the billionaire playboy whose every move made headlines. But she'd never imagined she'd be responsible for keeping him alive. Why me? She asked. Dr. Williams studied her carefully. Because you're the only nurse on staff who doesn't have connections to the Davidson family business. And frankly, you're the only one I trust completely. That night, Anna pushed open the door to the executive suite, her heart pounding. The room was a stark contrast to the sterile hospital environment, mahogany furniture, silk curtains, and a view of the city skyline that probably cost more than her annual salary. But it was the man in the bed who took her breath away, even unconscious. Grant Davidson commanded attention. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and despite months of immobility, his face retained the sharp aristocratic features that had graced countless magazine covers. His hands, she noticed, bore small scars, the hands of a man who'd built his empire from nothing. So you're the famous Grant Davidson, Anna whispered, approaching his bedside. Not exactly how I imagined meeting you. The heart monitor beeped steadily. The only response she'd get. As Anna began her initial assessment, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. She glanced toward the windows, but saw only her own reflection against the darkened glass. Still, the sensation lingered. What she didn't know was that across the street, in a black sedan, someone was indeed watching. Someone who'd been waiting 6 months for the perfect opportunity to finish what they'd started. 3 weeks into her assignment, Anna had developed a routine. Every morning at 6 a.m., she'd slip into Grant's room before the day shift chaos began. These quiet moments had become sacred to her, a time when she could focus entirely on her patient without interruption. "Good morning, Grant," she said softly, adjusting his IV drip. "Beautiful day today. Though I suppose that doesn't matter much to you right now." She'd started talking to him during her second week, initially just medical observations, but gradually, their one-sided conversations had become more personal. "I had the strangest dream last night," Anna continued, gently massaging his hands to maintain circulation. "I dreamed you opened your eyes and asked me what took so long. Crazy, right?" As she worked, Anna noticed something odd. Grant's heart rate seemed to spike slightly whenever she spoke directly to him. Dr. Williams had dismissed it as coincidence, but Anna wasn't convinced. "If you can hear me in there," she whispered, leaning closer, "give me a sign. Anything." For a moment, nothing. Then, barely perceptible, his fingers seemed to twitch. Anna's breath caught. "Did you just..." The fingers moved again, more deliberately this time. "Not much," but enough to make Anna's heart race. "Oh my God," she breathed. Reaching for the call button. "Wait." The voice from behind made her freeze. Anna spun around to find a tall man in an expensive suit standing in the doorway. His resemblance to Grant was unmistakable. The same dark hair, the same aristocratic features. But where Grant's face held strength, even in unconsciousness, this man's held something colder. "You must be Nathan Davidson," Anna said, her nursing instincts kicking in despite her surprise. "I am." Nathan's smile didn't reach his eyes as he entered the room uninvited. "And you're the nurse who's been caring for my brother." Something in his tone made Anna's skin crawl. "Is there something you need, Mr. Davidson?" Nathan moved closer to Grant's bed, studying his brother's still form with an expression Anna couldn't quite read. "Just checking on his progress. The doctors tell me his condition hasn't changed." "He's stable," Anna replied carefully. "Good, that's stoned, good." Nathan's hand briefly touched Grant's shoulder, but the gesture felt more possessive than affectionate. "I trust you're following all protocols. No unauthorized visitors, no unnecessary stimulation." Anna frowned. "Of course." "But why would my brother has many enemies?" Nathan interrupted, his voice carrying a warning. "People who might see his current vulnerability as an opportunity. It's important that his location and condition remain strictly confidential." As Nathan left, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just been threatened. But by Grant's own brother, it didn't make sense. That night, Anna found herself researching the Davidson family online. What she discovered made her blood run cold. Grant Davidson hadn't just built a tech empire, he'd inherited one. Davidson Industries had been founded by their father, Marcus Davidson, who'd died in a plane crash 2 years ago. According to the will Anna found in public records, Grant had inherited 80% of the company, while Nathan received only 20%. The motive was there. But would Nathan really try to kill his own brother? Anna's phone rang, jolting her from her research. Unknown number. "Hello." Silence. Then a distorted voice. "Stop digging, or you'll end up like him." The call ended. Anna's hands shook as she stared at her phone. Someone was watching her. Someone knew what she was looking for. But instead of scaring her off, the threat only strengthened her resolve. If someone wanted to silence her, it meant she was getting close to the truth. The next morning, Anna arrived at the hospital to find Grant's room filled with medical equipment she'd never seen before. "What's all this?" she asked Dr. Williams. "New monitoring system," he explained, but his voice sounded strained. Mr. Nathan Davidson insisted on the upgrade. Anna's suspicions flared. "What kind of monitoring?" "Brain activity, vitals, even audio recording for medical purposes." Dr. Williams avoided her eyes. "Everything will be documented now. Everything, including her conversations with Grant." Nathan was making sure she couldn't communicate privately with his brother. But why, unless he was afraid Grant might actually be able to hear her? That afternoon, while pretending to adjust Grant's blankets, Anna whispered urgently, "I think someone's trying to hurt you. If you can hear me, if you're fighting to come back, don't give up. I'm going to find out who did this to you." The heart monitor showed a significant spike. Grant was listening, and he was trying to tell her something. Anna spent the next week being extra careful. She varied her schedule, took different routes to work, and started carrying pepper spray. But her biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Miss Martinez, the elderly security guard, Frank, approached her during her lunch break. "Can I speak with you privately?" Frank had worked at the hospital for 20 years and had seen everything. His weathered face held a gravity that made Anna's stomach tighten. I've been watching the comings and goings in Mr. Davidson's wing, Frank said quietly. There's something you should know. The night of his accident, before he was brought in, someone came asking questions about him. Wanted to know what room he'd be in, what his chances were. Anna's pulse quickened. Who? Man in a expensive suit, said he was family, but... Frank shook his head. Didn't seem right. Too eager to know about security protocols, visiting hours. Like he was planning something. Can you describe him? Looked like Mr. Davidson, but older, and his eyes... Frank shuddered, cold as winter. Nathan, it had to be. That evening, Anna made a decision that could cost her everything. Using her access card, she slipped into the hospital's administrative offices after hours. If Nathan had been planning something, there might be records, phone calls, visits, anything that could prove his involvement. What she found in Grant's file made her blood freeze. A life insurance policy taken out just 2 months before the accident. Beneficiary: Nathan Davidson. Amount $50 million. But that wasn't the worst part. Clipped to the policy was a medical directive. Signed by Nathan S. Grant's next of kin. Authorizing the discontinuation of life support if Grant's condition didn't improve within 6 months. Tomorrow was exactly 6 months since the accident. Anna's hands shook as she photographed the documents with her phone. Nathan wasn't just waiting for Grant to die, he was planning to kill him. Legally, she had to get to Grant, had to warn him. Somehow, racing through the empty hospital corridors, Anna burst into Grant's room to find it dark, except for the glow of monitors. But something was different. The air felt charged, electric. Grant, she whispered urgently, moving to his bedside. I know you can hear me. Your brother, he's going to Grant's. Eyes snapped open. Anna gasped, stumbling backward. After 6 months of silence, of stillness, Grant Davidson was awake. His blue eyes found hers immediately, alert and aware. Anna, he said, his voice rough from disuse, but unmistakably strong. I've been waiting for you. You remember my name? Anna's voice cracked with emotion. I remember everything. Every word you said. Every story you told me. Grant struggled to sit up, his body weak from months of immobility. You saved me. In more ways than one. Anna wanted to cry, to laugh, to celebrate this miracle. But there wasn't time. Grant, we have to get you out of here. Nathan, I know about Nathan, Grant said grimly. I heard him talking on the phone. He thinks I can't hear anything, but I heard it all. The insurance policy, the medical directive, even his conversations with Marcus Cole. Marcus Cole, the man he hired to cause my accident. They're planning to finish the job tonight. As if summoned by their words, the door opened and Nathan walked in, flanked by 2 men Anna didn't recognize. His face showed genuine shock at seeing Grant awake, but he recovered quickly. Well, Nathan said. His facade of brotherly concern completely gone. The dead man speaks. Grant's jaw tightened. Hello, brother, come to finish what you started. Nathan smiled coldly. Actually, yes. Though your timing is inconvenient. I was hoping to avoid the mesinses of murder, but you've forced my hand. Why? Grant asked, though Anna could see he already knew the answer. 80%, Grant. Dad left you 80% of everything we built together. Everything I sacrificed for. Nathan's voice dripped with years of suppressed resentment. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? Watching everyone praise the golden boy while I did all the real work. So you tried to kill me. I tried. To claim what should have been mine from the beginning. Nathan nodded to the 2 men, who stepped forward menacingly. Unfortunately, you've proven harder to kill than expected. Anna's mind raced. The call button was too far away. Her phone was in her pocket, but she'd never get a chance to use it. They were trapped. But Grant wasn't the helpless man he'd been. 6 months ago, despite his physical weakness, his mind was sharp, and he'd had months to plan for this moment. "You made one mistake, Nathan," Grant said calmly. "What's that?" "You underestimated her." Grant's eyes flicked to Anna. Now. Anna dove for the emergency alarm she'd positioned earlier, hitting it as Nathan's men lunged forward. Instantly, the room flooded with sound alarms, blaring, lights flashing. Within seconds, hospital security burst through the door, followed by police officers Anna hadn't expected to see. "What? How did you?" Nathan sputtered as handcuffs clicked around his wrists. "I called them an hour ago," Grant explained, his voice growing stronger with each word. "Anna found the evidence, and I've been awake longer than you think. Long enough to record every confession you just made." Grant held up a small recording device that had been hidden in his hospital gown. "Grant Davidson," one of the officers said, "we've been waiting for you to wake up. We have a lot of questions about your accident." "And I have a lot of answers," Grant replied, his eyes never leaving Nathan's shocked face. "Starting with the man who tried to murder me." 3 months later, Grant Davidson stood in his penthouse office, looking out at the city skyline he'd once ruled with ruthless ambition. But everything felt different now. The view was the same, but the man seeing it had been fundamentally changed. "Your 3 o'clock is here," his assistant announced through the intercom. Grant smiled. His favorite appointment of every day. Anna walked into the office, carrying a medical bag. But her role had evolved far beyond nursing. She was now Grant's partner in every sense of the word, in business, in life, and in the foundation they'd started together to help coma patients and their families. "How are you feeling today?" she asked, approaching his desk with the professional manner she maintained during business hours. "Strong, grateful, and completely in love with my doctor," Grant replied, pulling her into his arms, despite her protests about professionalism. "I'm not a doctor, and we're in your office." Anna laughed, but she didn't pull away. "Details," Grant murmured, kissing her forehead. "Have I mentioned today that you saved my life?" "Only about a dozen times, not enough, then." Anna had resigned from the hospital after Nathan's arrest, but not before receiving recognition for her role in solving the case. The story had made international headlines. Nurse solves billionaire's attempted murder while he was in coma. But for Anna and Grant, the real story was much simpler. It was about 2 people who found each other in the darkness and chose to build something beautiful together. The Davidson Foundation received 3 new applications today, Anna reported, settling into the chair across from his desk. Families dealing with long-term coma patients. They need financial support and advocacy. Grant nodded, approve all 3, and make sure they know about the support groups. This was their mission, now using Grant's resources and Anna's experience to help families navigate the nightmare of having a loved one trapped between worlds. It gave meaning to everything they'd been through. "There's something else," Anna said, her voice taking on a different tone. "Something personal." Grant looked up sharply, recognizing the shift. "What is it?" Anna reached into her bag and pulled out a small wrapped box. "I know it's not a traditional situation, but ... She took a deep breath. "Grant Davidson, will you marry me?" Grant's mouth fell open. Of all the things he'd expected her to say, this wasn't one of them. "You're proposing to me?" he asked, incredulous. "Well, you died and came back to life. Solved your attempted murder. I figured I'd earned the right to shake up tradition a little." Anna's confidence wavered slightly. "Unless you don't want to." Grant was out of his chair and kissing her before she could finish the sentence. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. Anna Martinez, he said, taking the ring box from her trembling hands. You saved my life, solved my case, and just asked me to marry you. Do you really think there's any answer except yes? The ring was simpler, classic solitaire that somehow perfectly captured Anna's practical elegance. As Grant slid it onto his own finger, Anna laughed through her tears. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. From the moment I heard your voice in the darkness, telling me stories about your childhood and your dreams. You were my anchor to the world, Anna. You still are. 6 months later, they were married in a small ceremony at the hospital where they'd met. Not in the chapel, but in the garden where Anna used to take her breaks. Where she'd often wondered if Grant would ever wake up. Dr. Williams officiated. Frank, the security guard, walked Anna down the aisle, and Grant's recovery team served as the wedding party. It was unconventional, but it was perfect. During their vows, Grant spoke words that had been forming in his heart, since the moment he'd awakened to find Anna's hand in his. Anna, you didn't just save my life, you gave me a reason to live it. You saw me when I was invisible, heard me when I was silent, and loved me when I had nothing to offer but hope. I promise to spend every day proving worthy of the miracle you gave me. Anna's vows were simpler, but no less profound. Grant, I fell in love with your voice before I ever saw your eyes. I'll love your heart long after everything else fades. You were worth fighting for then, and you're worth building a life with. Now, as they kissed to seal their marriage, Anna thought about the journey that had brought them here. A random assignment. A patient who wasn't supposed to wake up. A brother's betrayal that had nearly destroyed them both. But love had won. Trust had triumphed. And two people who'd found each other in the darkest circumstances were now stepping into the light together. Their story became legend at Mercy General. Nurse who never gave up, and the billionaire who fought his way back from the edge of death for love. But more than that, it became proof that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin in the most ordinary moments. A woman doing her job. A man fighting to survive. And a connection that proved stronger than money, more powerful than betrayal, and more enduring than death itself. Grant never fully remembered the 9 months he'd spent in the coma, but he remembered every word Anna had spoken to him. Her voice had been his lifeline, her presence, his salvation. Her love, his resurrection. And Anna learned that sometimes the patients who seem beyond help are just waiting for someone to believe in their return. She'd given Grant her care, her protection, and eventually her heart. In return, he'd given her a love story that proved miracles still happen for those brave enough to fight for them. Their foundation continued to grow, helping hundreds of families navigate the complexities of coma care. But their greatest success story remained their own to people who proved that love can literally wake the dead, solve the impossible, and build something beautiful from the ashes of tragedy, in the end. Anna Martinez had done more than save Grant Davidson's life. She'd given him a reason to live it fully, love, completely. And never take a single moment for granted. And Grant Davidson had done more than survive an assassination attempt. He'd found his purpose, his partner, and his proof that some things are worth more than all the money in the world. Their love story was one for the ages. Testament to the power of persistence, the strength of love, and the miracle of two hearts that refused to give up on each other. No matter how impossible the odds. The end. Subscribe to Black Frame Stories for more tales of love, mystery, and the extraordinary connections that change everything.